A little bit about myself first. I'm the administrator of the Pennsylvania Taxpayer Cyber Coalition. It's a web and email-based group supporting property tax elimination. The PTCC has been around since about 2004, and about the same time, we formed the Pennsylvania Coalition of Taxpayer Associations. We are now 60 diverse groups strong across the state, and these groups include taxpayer advocacy groups, groups like the Berks County Patriots, who are our newest members, and thank you very much. And Berks County Patriots has declared war on property taxes. Thank you very much. Who's changing slow? Coming back. Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay. I'm going to start you off with a few numbers. Anybody have any idea what they mean? $22 billion is the current cost of education in Pennsylvania, K-12 education. The average rate of increase is about 6.25% a year. This is the historical average. If you multiply that through for 10 years, cost of education in Pennsylvania is going to balloon to $40 billion. It is absolutely unsustainable. And your property taxes are going to go up a commensurate amount to help finance that. When I pay my property taxes each year, I usually have a conversation with the tax collector. She told me last year that collections were late compared to the prior year, and many people complained about taking out reverse mortgages. Older people whose homes were paid off. This is absolutely unconscionable. You work your entire life trying to build a secure future for yourself, a home where you can live for the rest of your life, and have to turn around and take out a reverse mortgage on it just to pay your property taxes. Here's a second number for you. Anybody have any idea about that? That's how much your property taxes can go up in the next few years. Because of the pension crisis, because of increased spending. How many of you can sustain a 30% increase in school property taxes in the next 2, 3, 4 years? One final number for you, 10,000. And this one's a shocker. This is the number of homes in Pennsylvania that are sold at sheriff sale each year for non-payment of property taxes. This is not foreclosures. This is just for non-payment of property taxes. 10,000 people a year are put out of their homes. So, final question. Do you feel secure in your home? Do you think you can be in your home 10 years from now? How many of you have a problem with property taxes right now? Wow. The Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and our office holders swear to uphold this, guarantees that we will be secure in our property. Yet the same politicians who took that oath allow our homes to be forcibly taken from us if we don't pay our rent to the government. So, let's get into it. So I'm just going to talk about property taxes. Not really about property taxes. Go ahead. Property taxes are the problem, people think. That's not the problem at all. What are the real problems? Property taxes began in feudal England back in the 11th century, 12th century. They were adopted in the United States in the 19th century because there was no way to report income at that time. So the property tax was served as a proxy for income. It was assumed that the farmer who was farming 40 acres was making less than the farmer who was farming 400 and was taxed accordingly. But it's interesting now that we continue to use that tax even though our homes don't generate our income anymore. It's ludicrous. We live in our homes. We don't generate income with it. Why is that suddenly a proxy for our wealth? But still, the legislators feel it's a valid way to tax us. It violates one of the most basic principles of taxation, and that is that any taxes you pay should take into account the person's ability to pay. Property tax does not do that in any way. Let's look at the assessment system. Property taxes are inherently arbitrary and unfair. Just a personal example here. Last time Berks County did the reassessment, I believe it was 92. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I live in a development, typical development houses. They're all about the same price, all about the same square footage. But somehow, our house, which was not substantially different from our neighbors, was assessed for $25,000 more. No reason given, appealed it, and got a small reduction on it, but we're still paying more in taxes than our neighbor for essentially the same house because the system is subjective. There is no objective way of determining the value of property, or at least it will remain valid for any period of time, because no sooner do you assess a property when the value changes. We've seen what the housing market is doing. The politicians always like to say that property taxes are the most stable way of funding education. Well, hold on. Of course they're stable, because you're going to get thrown out of your home if you don't pay it. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about why that isn't true anymore. It's also like the sales tax and the mortgage payment. I'll talk about this more later too, but we have a group in Monroe County. They gave me some information earlier this week about what the housing market is like up there. A house up there, currently in the market for $225,000, has an annual property tax of $10,000. 48% of a person's mortgage payment on that house would consist of property tax escrow. It's like paying a 48% sales tax on your mortgage payment each month. How to control spending? I don't like to bash school board, but we've seen what's happened with school boards. All school boards have to have something better than the guy next to them. A better football field, a better auditorium, a nicer school. What I found interesting during the May primary election, if you noticed in the Reading Eagle, those of you in the area, they had a little biography for each of the school board candidates. I was really shocked by the amount of cross-pollination between various school boards. You have a teacher in one school district running for a school board in another district. Or you have a parent of a teacher, or the spouse of a teacher, or an administrator from another school district running for a board in this district. I can't believe that these folks are in it to really consider the overall, well, what is necessary for the people, for the taxpayers. They have their agendas, and they're going to follow those agendas and not care all that much about taxpayers. I'm not saying, again, all school directors are bad, but this exists. And it's something we have to consider. The other thing is, I don't know about you, but I know how much money I have coming in, and I budget according to what I have available to me. It seems like most school boards work backwards. We figure out what we want to do, what we want to spend, and then we'll tax people to pay for it, which is totally backwards from the way the rest of us do business. Lack of effective education cost controls. We know about that. The Act 1 cost controls are a joke, with 10 exceptions. You have the index. This year there were 224 school districts, I believe, who applied for exceptions with the Pennsylvania Department of Education. We're all granted. Rubber stamp. Raise taxes at will, basically. There are no effective cost controls, even though the politicians would like to tell us that Act 1 did the job of controlled costs. Education and taxation inequities. This is great. Let's talk about the educational inequities first. 100 school districts, about 100 school districts in Pennsylvania, do not have the finances to adequately run their schools. The community does not have the wealth to support their schools. Their children are not getting an adequate education. The people are tapped out on taxes. Tuscarora School District in Franklin County has plumbing so poor that the teachers have to bring in bottled water for the students. The water is not unsafe, but it's unpalatable. They can't afford to fix the plumbing. Looking at taxation inequities, this is the one that really rips me. Columbia County, Berks School District. 1991 funding formula the state established for school districts never took into account changes in population. In the past 10 years, Berks School District has lost 900 students. They managed to hire 40 new teachers in the same time period. Their local tax load is about 40% of their education budget. Swap it around, go to the York Suburban School District, where they've had a large influx of students in the past 10 years. 85% of their school budget is being financed through property taxes. These people can't survive anymore because of the cost of it. And of course, we talked about the projected cost of education. So what's the real problem? It's not property taxes. It's an irreparably broken K-12 education finance system, and it must be fixed now. Second fallacy, property tax relief or property tax reform is the solution. How many times have we heard about property tax relief? Act 1 was supposed to be property tax relief. There's all sorts of property tax relief we hear about. Property tax relief we hear about. It's not the solution at all, it's a joke. Act 50, Act 2, and Act 71 Act 50, Act 72, and Act 1 were all cut out of the same mold. They called for a shift from property taxes to a local earned income tax. Act 1 we voted on in 2007 Out of the 501 school districts in the state at that time, 496 voted it down. Only 5 passed it. Because people understood you can shift to an income tax, shift part of the burden to an income tax, but in the meantime, property taxes continue to go up. So eventually you're right back where you started, only you're paying another tax on top of it. The people understood that. But what's interesting, somehow the legislators got the message from that people like the property tax, they don't want to shift to anything else. True story. Former HB 1600 tax shift, which has been reintroduced this year by Mario Civello. I don't know the bill number, but it's the same thing. This called for a 0.22 increase in the personal income tax, a 0.5% increase in the sales tax, for about a $400 per home rebate. Except it uses the same formula as Act 1, so some people will get $50 and some will get $500. But it's the same situation again. You're going to have your sales tax raised, you're going to have your income tax raised for a small rebate, property taxes keep going up, and pretty soon you're back where you were, and now you're paying 2 new taxes. Act 1 rebates. I bet you all love those, don't you? How much of your property tax has been cut by Act 1 rebates? And it hasn't changed since they started in 2007. My district, Mifflin, against a $4,000 tax bill this year, I'm getting $101. And I'm sure you're all seeing that throughout Berks County. You know what it's like. Governor Rendell tried to tell us that this was going to be great panacea. It was going to give us all tax relief. The amount of relief has actually gone down each year since 2007. And we're here now, well, once all the casinos are open, it'll get better. Get right. Thank you. Because no matter what else, the casinos are going to generate a finite amount of money. Eventually, they're going to plateau. When that happens, property taxes again are going to exceed the relief. Same situation again. One that kills me is the homestead exclusion. A few years ago, the state passed the homestead exclusion. What it says is, politicians like to tell you that they can give you a 50% cut in your property taxes to the homestead exclusion. Read the fine print. It's 50% of the median assessed value in each school district. If you're at the median, yes, you're going to get 50%. If you're below it, you're going to get more. God help you if you're above it, because you're going to get practically nothing. It doesn't cost them 50% to pay for it, and you're not going to get 50% relief out of it. Second to last bullet is what I've been saying all along. No matter what kind of relief the state says they're going to give you, it's always going to be outstripped by rising property taxes, putting you right back in the same situation you were in before. So, anytime you hear a politician promise you relief, tell them he's full. It's doomed to failure if the system is not restructured. 3 R's. No relief, no reform, no reduction. Eliminate the property tax and get it over with.